Hi, I'm Thea. Everyone said I was crazy when I opened the first restaurant in a desolate Miami warehouse district. Now the whole world knows that as Wynwood. Then I did it again in Alapata. Ever wonder how a place goes from not to hot? Join me for a behind-the-scenes look at what really goes into igniting a neighborhood. We'll talk with the risk takers, the pioneers, the restaurateurs, the real sparks of neighborhood ignition. This is Thea's Neighborhood Magic. On this episode, I'm joined by the mayor of Cali, Colombia, Alejandro Eder, and Manny Diaz, former mayor of Miami. We discuss the challenges of urban renewal in South America's third oldest city. Hear all about the work to recover Cali's historical center and why we all need to go dancing in Cali, the salsa capital of the world.
Cali is called, in Spanish, it's La Sucursal del Cielo, which means the branch of heaven or a branch office of heaven, because it is so much fun, because the weather's perfect, because it's a very rich culture. There's salsa music everywhere. People are extremely nice, so it feels great. So we're La Sucursal del Cielo.
You're also in this very exciting growth moment, right? This transitional moment. What's going on in Cali?
We are. Well, I think, people in the States, when people in the States hear about Colombia, unfortunately, people still think about, the Colombian tragedy, about the cocaine trade or terrorism or violence, but in the past few years, people have kind of started going down to Colombia again, but mostly they go to Cartagena, to Bogota, or to Medellin. But the final frontier, if you will, is Cali. Cali has traditionally been one of Colombia's most developed cities. We're still one of Colombia's industrial bases. We have 18% of Colombia's industrial base, 22% of Colombia's agro-industrial base. We're a big exporting city. About 30% of our exports come to the U.S. So there's a lot of contact with the U.S. and other countries with the business sector. Also through healthcare, we have a very good private healthcare network and public one as well. So we get a lot of medical tourism down there. But now we want more people to come down for cultural reasons, around salsa and around Afro-Colombian culture. Cali's one of the cities with the most Afro amount of citizens, but also because of ecotourism.
Well, after this show, everybody's going to forget there are other cities in Colombia and everybody's going to be coming to Cali. So I know you're in this very exciting transformational moment, and lucky for you, you're sitting next to the mayor that led our great transformation, Manny Diaz. So what do you think Cali 2025 and Miami in the 2000s have in common? What do you see that like?
Well, they have a great mayor.
Oh, they have a great mayor.
But what he was just describing is the same potential that we had. Not so much with the 400 birds species, but we've gotten rid of a lot of those. But that culture, that people, what he's describing to a large extent is energy from the residents who feel proud of their city, who want to make their city better. I mean, all those things I think we also had to work with. It had not been tapped for a very long time, but we tapped it, and we brought out that energy. We brought out the best in people to say, they talk about other cities. Now it's time to talk about us.
We sure did. And the reason that we know each other is because Manny was tremendous at staying very close to the entrepreneurs in the city who were driving growth. And he really let us do what we do and made it very easy for us to do the work that we do. Are you able to be that accessible to the entrepreneurs in your city?
Yes, actually, that's one of my main goals is to strengthen entrepreneurs and also small business owners in Cali. That's where most jobs come from. That's also where most development comes from. That's where most taxes come from as well. So we need to help small businesses and entrepreneurs, and particularly we're helping them as well, especially in teaching them how to export, because I think we have a huge potential as far as in export-oriented growth.
So what do you think mayors should be doing to work with entrepreneurs in a more fortified way? There's got to be systems put in place because essentially everybody wants the same thing. They want growth and prosperity and industry created. What do you think could be done?
Well, there's one thing that we're doing in Cali right now. For example, our administration, we're implementing the largest ever investment project to recover infrastructure in Cali and to develop new sectors of the city. For example, we have a big objective, which is initiating a downtown redevelopment program.
I want to hear all about it.
And that's kind of why we're here as well, learning from Wynwood, learning from Mayor Diaz, learning from the Midtown experience as well. And part of our initiative, what we're doing is that we're contacting small and medium-sized business owners and entrepreneurs so that they can partake in whatever investments we're doing, as far as infrastructure development. And also we're contacting other entrepreneurs so that they can see where the action's happening, and that way they can start, setting up shop there as well.
So we all know that it is essential for mayors to prioritize urban renewal. But I was curious to know, in a city where we had basically blank canvas pockets pretty much with our urban renewal, and there was a huge opportunity. In a city that has been dealing with some kind of renewal since the 16th century, what are the kind of unique issues that you run into?
I think the unique issue is that, in Latin America, cities have a tendency to grow outward, and they abandon the center, So one of the big challenges that I've had is getting developers to see that there's big opportunities in going back and doing urban renewal in the old center of the city, and kind of like essentially, in an area that's called Ciudad Paraíso, Paradise City, where
Good
literally,
name.
yes, we're literally knocking down entire blocks, and each small block, let's say about 6 current size city blocks, we're putting them together to build huge mega blocks. So so that way you have less traffic, but you have larger areas where you can do better developments. When you have more developments, then there's going to be job creation, there's going to be space for new businesses, and that'll generally develop the city.
You're really sitting next to the expert of urban development. I think that you are the unsung hero of urban planning, Manny. What do you think drove you to be so ambitious about the massive swaths of Miami that you had such great vision for?
It's exactly what he just described. I mean, we, as you know, we were the poster child in America for suburban sprawl. I mean, the core was always a place where everybody sort of started, but as you were moving along in life, whether as a Cuban immigrant or others, you moved out, and you moved out to the West. And at the same time, we weren't building, and still haven't built, the infrastructure that's necessary to now get all those people from way out there, from the Everglades, basically, into the urban core. And so the pitch was eastward ho, eastward, like come east,
Right.
But what do you have to do? Because people move out, the tax base goes down, so government has less money to invest, and the more people move out, the poorer you get as a central city, right? So you can't put money into infrastructure, you can't put money into schools. Crime becomes a problem. So it's hard to convince people to come back in. So what you need to do is you need to fix those core root type of items. And then people begin to think like, hey, that's not so bad. And by the way, now at this point, the thought is, if you work in the urban core, I have to drive an hour and a half in and an hour and a half out.
Right.
And so that's 3 hours that I waste, not with family, not with my business, not with anything, sitting in a car.
Right. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing in Cali, and that's exactly what's driving us to bring about this change. And obviously, this is probably going to take like 10 or 15 years at least, which is what happened in Miami. I guess 15 years ago, more or less, is when you started this whole process. But look at Miami today. Miami, I've been walking around. I visited Miami, but I hadn't really like dug in deep to see the transformation. And this is a completely different city. That's what we're shooting for in Cali. When I say that we're redeveloping or recovering Cali's historical center, there's basically 3 neighborhoods that we're focusing on. The first one is called Barrio Obrero, which is a neighborhood that's well known in Cali and actually around Latin America for being one of the points where salsa music and salsa culture is most concentrated. So we're doing big investments there to kind of strengthen the neighborhood, the Obrero neighborhood, as a place for tourists to visit that like salsa music and salsa culture. The second one is Paradise City, which is the one that I mentioned, where we're actually doing, real deal urban renewal, tearing down houses, building new buildings. And the third one is the area around Plaza Caicedo. Plaza Caicedo was originally the central square of the city when it was founded in the 16th century or the 17th century, and during the 30s and 40s, which is when Cali had its heyday. The old colonial buildings were knocked down, but there's a lot of beautiful Art Deco buildings. Actually, many of them are very similar to the ones you see in Miami because it was more or less the same time period. But those buildings today are abandoned because no one's been living in the center. So we're trying to bring people, not just to bring office buildings back, but we're trying to bring residents back to that part of town because if people are living in the city, then the city will change.
So I just want to say, for all you people in Miami, the salsa dancers who are always dancing in the rain, in parking lots and down the aisles at Publix, take it on the road, okay? I want to see you go to Cali, and show them what you've got because Cali is the capital of salsa dancing in the world.
It is. We're the worldwide, la capital mundial de la salsa, worldwide
so
capital
let's see what
of
you've
salsa.
got, Miami, okay?
And we have the Cali Fair, which is in December, from the 25th to the 31st of December, which is just centered around salsa music, salsa culture. And this December, we're going to have Obrero, the Obrero neighborhood is going to be brand new. We've fixed the streets. They're now like cobblestone streets. And it's going to be like a huge tribute to salsa culture for Latin America.
So, Thea, what's very smart about what he's doing is, which a lot of mayors don't do, is first, as you're trying to revitalize and rebuild, you first look at what you have.
True.
There's so much of a tendency sometimes for mayors to say, oh, I want to bring in these businesses into my city from somewhere else. But why don't you first look at what you have, build on what you have, and expand on what you have? Yep. It's there. The basis, the foundation is already there. Just make it better.
Right.
And it sounds like you have the most amazing elements in place. You have history, you have true culture, manufacturing culture. We have to do that sometimes in these newer cities. I mean, Miami's a few hundred years old.
Barely over
500,000 people. You're 4 times the size and
500 years old. We're turning 500 in the year 2036. It's actually Cali's the 3rd oldest city in South America. So it's quite historical. It's also been very important in Colombia's history politically, socially, and economically. Cali is actually Colombia's first economic miracle in the 20th century. It started the 20th century as a small village of around 4,000 or 5,000 people, or a small town of 4,000 or 5,000 people. And we ended the 20th century as a city of 2.5 million. And about 12% of Colombia's GDP, even though we have about 5% of Colombia's population.
Wow.
Manny, what do you wish you knew at the beginning of this transformational project that you took on in the early 2000s?
Everything. Well, the one good thing is that, one of the things about the mayor that's also important is he comes from the private sector. And so in terms of what you were mentioning earlier about being able to deal with the private sector, quick story, George Perez is one of our major developers in Florida and probably nationally. It was an old friend, and when I first went to him and said, I want you to help me do this, right? And he was a friend, and he said, Manny, I wouldn't build a duplex in Hialeah. Why? Because there was a history of distrust, where mayors, were not partners in your process, where mayors worked against you. They weren't there to help, right? To make it, because what the private sector wants more than anything else, despite what some people may think, is what are the rules of the game?
Right.
Just tell me what the rules are.
And they want stable rules.
Yeah, and I'll play within those rules.
Right.
Just don't change them on me. Or don't, just because 10 people call you up and complain about something that we're doing, we're following the rules.
Right.
But my prior guys would say, oh, okay, we can't do that anymore. What do you mean? I already invested $1 million in architects and lawyers and blah, blah, and now you're telling me I can't build this project, even though it's legal to build it, right? So you build that up, and the private sector has money, right? So they can build anywhere. They can build in Miami, they can build in Cali, they can build in Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, wherever they want to go. So why your city? Why am I going to put my money on your city? Well, you got to have someone there that you can trust. Right? And those are things that you don't learn on the job. Those are things you bring with you to the job. And then it's a function of the most difficult part is getting the bureaucracy and the culture within a city to buy into what that vision is.
That's exactly what's happening in Cali right now, because let's say that in all honesty, I didn't make up, or it wasn't my initiative originally to do the downtown redevelopment, especially in Ciudad Paraíso, in the Paradise City project. That's an initiative actually that's been around since like 2009.
Yeah.
The only thing is that no one had really
Right.
generated enough trust in the private sector to really move it forward. And also, for me, it's a priority. So basically,
Right.
me as mayor, I'm on it every day so that I can make sure that it doesn't get lost in the bureaucracy. And I've met a lot of challenges from the bureaucracy, but we've managed to get this project off the road. We actually just built or private developers built the first apartment tower in this neighborhood, which people thought was going to be impossible. The next two towers they're initiating construction right now, and we built a huge government building which is now working in that sector. So now we have people that are actually going there and working, and that's already just starting to change the nature of this part of Cali.
Fantastic.
What about retail, like restaurants or entertainment districts?
Not yet. I mean, we're just getting started, and this is a part of Cali that, like Manny was saying, because of urban sprawl, everybody had left the center, so it was basically just completely run down. And even today, when you tell someone, oh, why don't you come and look at this project and invest here? They say, well, you know what, that sounds crazy. I'm not sure I want to do that quite yet, but
So
slowly we'll get there.
we do say on this show that as soon as somebody's told you that sounds crazy, that is the surefire mark that it's going to work and be successful, because everybody told us that it was crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it is, crazy ideas are the funnest ones. They're the ones
Yeah.
that you just have to persevere. People have become so distrustful, not just of like far out, visions like this one, but also in Cali we've had many years of like mismanaged government. So one of the biggest challenges I've had is getting local people, especially in the Obrero neighborhood, to actually trust what we're doing, but now that they see that the project, the infrastructure project has started, and they're seeing that we're moving really quickly, everybody's really happy and everybody's waiting to see what's going on. And now the problem I have is that in other neighborhoods in Cali, people are saying, well, why did you go to Obrero? What about us? But we have to start somewhere,
So
Do you
I
have term
think
limits? I'm sorry. Do you have term limits?
Yes, and that's
How many
another
years?
that's another difficulty that we have compared to Miami. There's no re-election in Cali. So in other words, I have to work
fast.
very fast. I have a 4-year term. I've already used up 20 months, so
my God.
I have another 27 months left. So but I need to have enough traction so that this is irreversible. So
Right.
that's part of the
Correct.
challenge. That's part of the fun as well. There is re-election, but there needs to be a term in between. I think here in Miami, I think there's probably 2 consecutive terms.
We serve 8 years.
8 years, exactly. So I think that's an additional challenge that we have. But I think that if people start dreaming, then we'll get it off the ground.
So it's incredible how vital trust is in these processes. I was the first person to open in Wynwood, and getting people to come into Wynwood was really a very big challenge. But trust is something that's snowballed and is contagious. Right. And so people would come, then they'd bring their cousins, their mothers, their brothers, their whatever. And that's really, we did it very organically. I know that you have to go, so I am going to ask you a couple of last questions. Your dream for Cali, paint the picture. 5 years from now, what does Cali look like?
5 years from now, my dream is that Cali's recovered its image around the world. People are going down to Cali. We're going to have a lot more tourists around Cali salsa culture. There's one thing with Cali salsa culture. In Cali, I think is the only city that I know of where everybody dances salsa. And everybody is everybody. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. It doesn't matter what ethnic group you're from, what social class you're in. Everybody dances salsa. And everybody loves salsa. So I think that's something that a lot of people go to Cali today to learn Cali salsa caleña. And some of the best dancers come out of Cali. Some of the best musicians come out of Cali. I was actually meeting with some Caleño musicians here in Miami, because today they need to come here so that they can, find success. Hopefully in Cali in 5 years, many musicians can stay there, or at least start to develop their careers in Cali and then move on. And we need Cali to become a Colombian, to continue to consolidate itself as a Colombian economic powerhouse. And something that's very important, especially in today's world, just like Cali is the world salsa capital, we want Cali to be the biodiversity capital of the world as well. Last year, we hosted the COP16 Biodiversity Summit. It's the largest COP Biodiversity Summit that's ever been organized in the world. It's the largest global event that's ever been held in Colombia. It was actually quite successful. And this year, we're going to have, starting on the 29th of September through October 5th, we're going to have the first ever biodiversity week. So just like Miami has a climate week or New York has a climate week, this was going to be a biodiversity week. What's important about biodiversity as far as taking care of the planet? Well, everybody talks about global warming. To stop global warming, you need decarbonization, but you also need to preserve the environment. And you need to preserve biodiversity. That's what absorbs or captures carbon at the end of the day.
So, and it's very appropriate because you're in this extremely interesting and rare position geographically, right? What is that called?
We're within
Panama, Colombia.
Right. We're within a what's called a biodiversity hotspot. There's 5 biodiversity hotspots in the world. The one we're in is called the Chocó bioregion, and it's basically the jungles that start in Costa Rica, go through Panama, all along Colombia's west coast, Pacific coast, and Ecuador's Pacific coast. It's the most biodiverse hotspot per square meter in the world.
Wow.
20% of its biodiversity, if I remember correctly, is endemic. It's only there,
And the rest of the world is killing animals, and you're actually discovering birds.
Exactly. We discovered a new bird species 3 years ago. That's unheard of in today's world. In today's world, we hear about how new species or how old species are being extinct. No one's really discovering new, much less bird species. But also, it's also important to generate awareness because this hotspot in particular, the Chocó one, is being destroyed by illegal economies. So, for example, illegal lumbering, but also illegal gold mining, cocaine manufacturing in the cocaine trade, and also illegal migration. And this hotspot is currently being threatened. So that's why from Cali, we have an initiative, which we started during the COP16 summit, which is an alliance between 8 cities from Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador, where we're the Chocó bioregion cities, and basically we're looking for local solutions to solve these transglobal problems. How do we protect the environment from illegal economies to make sure that we contribute to a more eco-friendly world?
I'm going to come and visit you in Cali. Tell me.
I'm expecting you there.
Great. Tell me.
I want
Describe.
to see your salsa moves.
She's got to learn. She's got to learn.
I'm going to book some lessons right now. Tell me what my first day would be spent doing in Cali. Plan it out for me.
Your first
I want to
day,
have coffee.
First, you'll get into your hotel. Then you're gonna go to the San Antonio neighborhood, which is an old neighborhood in Cali. There's a lot of cool cafes. There's cool stores and restaurants and things like that. Then in the evening, you can go salsa dancing to what we call salsotecas, which are basically discotheques, but just around salsa. Some of them have live music, but some of them have they work with vinyls. It's just LPs.
I'm going to bring down
school.
the whole level of the dancing, okay? But I'm coming anyway.
Then the second day, you can actually go to one of Cali's salsa schools. We have over 200 salsa academies.
That day one, perhaps.
Right? And you can learn a little dancing, pick up a couple of moves. And then you can actually go up to the mountains, go do some bird watching. There's actually one point in Cali, and there's a farm that's called Finca Alejandría, which is right in the jungle, up in the mountains, but it's literally 20 or 30 minutes from the main hotels in the city. And it's the one spot on Earth where the most number of hummingbird species is registered. So in other words, you can go there. Literally, you just stand in this garden, in this house in the middle of the jungle, and there's hummingbirds everywhere like insects.
Thank you both for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.